Hello, Sequoia fifth graders. Welcome back for a little bit more math. Last lesson, we learned about how to read word problems and write situation equations to help us solve them. Today, we're going to spin that around and we're going to work on how to write word problems. And so to begin with that, what we want to do is think about what different equations mean. For instance, if we have 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is asking us to find 3 groups of 5. So a word problem that could go along with that would be something like it takes $5 to get into the park. How much, let's do a period there. How much would it cost? For 3 people to go. So now we have come up with a story where we have 3 groups of 5. This also works for fractions. If it was 2/5, it would be 3 groups of 2/5. And this story doesn't work as well anymore. So we would want to change the story. So we want 3 groups of 2/5. I'm trying to think of what you might have 2/5 of. I could say a recipe needs 2/5 cups of milk. How much milk do you need to make 3 portions? Once again, I have 3 groups of 2/5. Division asks for something else. So if I had 4 divided by 1/2, take a second to think about what is this asking you? 4 divided by 1/2. This could mean how many, here I'll make that as a word, how many halves are in 4? That is what our division question is asking. That's not a word problem yet, or not a story problem. That's just what the math is directly asking. Now, to make it into a story problem, I could say something like, Joey ran 4 miles. So I've started with 4, and now I need to find out something about halves. If he took a break every half mile, how many times did he stop? So now I have a story where I'm finding out how many halves are in 4. So these should always be real-world stories. You should be thinking about what is a reasonable thing that could be shown with these numbers. We don't want, if it's talking about halves, we're not going to probably talk about people, because people are not going to, we're not going to get half a person. If it's, so let's do 1 or 2 more. Here, I'm going to use an example that is in your book. So you have the question, you have the equation on page 211. You have 5/6 times 1/3 equals 5/18. And they want you to come up with a story to go along with this. And this is 5/6 of 1/3. So we're going to try to think of something where we can have 1/3 of something and then 5/6 of a group of it. Because remember that multiplication is about groups. So I might say I have 1/3, or so 5/6 of my class. 5/6 of the students in room 13 wore hats on Thursday. So now I've started with my thing. Now I need something to be a group of 1/3. So I can say, if 1/3 of those hats were for sports teams, then I can say 5/18 of the class wore sports hats. So now I've made the story where I have 5/6 of my class wearing hats. Of those 5/6, 1/3 are wearing sports hats. Net, hopefully A's, hopefully Warriors, but it's up to you. And so if I was looking for the number of the amount of the entire class, you would then have to multiply. You would have to say 5/6 times 1/3, and you'd say, oh, 5/18 of the class are wearing sports hats. So we're coming up with stories that can be told as equations. All right, let's do one more, and then I'm going to send you on your way. So on problem 2 on page 211, you're going to be doing that problem. Just make sure you come up with a different story than mine. There are infinite stories you can write. We're going to do one more from page 212. If we have, let's say, 1/4 divided by 2 equals 1/8. I have 1/4 of something. I'm splitting it into 2 equal pieces, which means I have 1/8 left. So I could say, Vanessa has 1/4 Why am I writing that as a word? I'm going to write that as the number of her book left to read. She finishes it after reading equal amounts two nights in a row. So now I've set up a story where she has 1/4. So we say, what do you have? What changes? She split it into 2 equal pieces. So then I can say each night she read 1/8 of the book. So we are coming up with story problems that work, real world stories that work to match with the equations we are given. So this is on pages 211 and 212. It's only 6 problems. Make sure that numbers 2 and 5, you do not use the same story that I just did. There are so many ways that you can express these problems. I can't wait to read them. Thank you so much. Have a great